Hey, hello and welcome to the Whole Loaf, a holistic approach to healthy living and building strong relationships. I'm here with my wife, Suzanne, my wife of going on 28 years, and also with Deb Murray, a food stylist to the stars and author of 17 different cookbooks. And tonight we have another fantastic episode where we are going to cook something delicious. What are we cooking tonight? This is going to be exciting.
Paul, get a hold of it. It's burgers. We're making burgers.
We're making hamburgers tonight. I know what you're thinking, right? I know you wanted a cowboy steak. I mean, I know your expectations were something different other than hamburgers. And that's kind of what I want to talk a little bit about tonight as well, is expectations, right? Because expectations are extremely powerful. I mean, expectations, they reflect what you think should happen, what you long for, what you desire, what your goals are. And so expectations, I mean, in any relationship, expectations are crucial. I mean, they're crucial. Met expectations are crucial for satisfaction in any type of relationship. And unmet expectations, when you're expecting something and it doesn't go your way, I mean, it is trouble. Capital T. All right, so unmet expectations can cause an awful lot of conflict, an awful lot of pain, an awful lot of uncomfortableness. Or you can meet those expectations and you can grow and develop a stronger relationship, a healthier relationship.
Do you like pizza?
Yeah, like us. There you go. So tonight we're going to talk about hamburgers, right? But we're going to spice it up a little bit. We're going to exceed all of your expectations. I can promise you that tonight.
And you know, Paul, it's one of those things that I've been cooking my whole life. I thought I had a handle on every kind of concept as far as culinary techniques go. And I was in a restaurant in St. Paul, Minnesota. It was called Salud. And on the menu, Salud. And on the menu, they ground their own ground beef. I mean, it was a very, very high-end restaurant, absolutely marvelous. Monday nights, they would make a Julia Child dish. And it was really impressive. But they had on the menu this burger called a French onion burger. And I went, I love French onion soup. I love a burger. Why not? So what it is we're going to take a burger and we're going to take other stuff that's in your house and we're going to put a twist on something that might seem really common. And all of a sudden you'll be, je parle en français un peu when it's all over. I mean, it'll be really fun.
I have no idea what she said, but we're going to zest it up.
Great.
We are going to spice it up for you a little bit here tonight. So what are we doing here? We just have regular hamburgers?
No, I actually bought ground prime rib burgers.
Ooh.
You can buy all kinds of different ground beef in the grocery store. My personal favorite is like a brisket and a chuck. The tougher pieces of meat ground well. But you can even get them with filet mignon out there, all pre-portioned. So I've got my burgers, a little bit of salt on them. I'm going to cook them to like medium. My beautiful assistant, Suzanne, she is actually caramelizing some onions. Cooking them very, very slowly in the olive oil, a little salt and pepper, making the natural annulin, the sugar in them come out. And in the back over here, we have homemade beef broth, because you know I'm about my stock, reducing with a bottle of red wine with some onions and some seasoning in there. And when we're done tonight, we're going to assemble a burger, topped with Gruyere cheese, toasted brioche buns, and you're going to dip it in the French onion soup.
First of all, she's already exceeding all of my expectations because whatever ground beef I buy is normally $1.89 at Sam's Club. So this is going to be the good stuff right here.
Exactly.
And you've got your own broth cooking back here. Whereas me, if I were to break out French onion soup, it would look a lot like this.
Yes, and that's okay too.
Which you could do, yeah, right? You could do that, but yeah. So like I said, you're already exceeding all of my expectations.
I like that.
This is great. You know, so unmet expectations, I mean, they can cause all kinds of conflict in any relationship. I once heard a story about a young couple. They were just married, or married for a short period of time, and the man kept going out with his buddies. I mean, these were the guys he grew up with, right? I mean, he grew up with these guys, and they had this habit of going out at least once a week. And so at least once a week, he would go out with his buddies. Well, every time he went out, his wife was disappointed. His wife was becoming more and more frustrated because her expectations were not being met. She expected her husband to stay home with her all the time. And he expected to be able to go out and have some time with his buddies who he grew up with. And so you can just picture it, right? I mean, you just picture the conflict and the bumping of heads that took place there because neither one of them identified it. Neither one of them clarified their expectations. And so the snowballing just kind of getting worse and worse, and the escalation or the arguments began to escalate, and arguments and frustration and pain just kind of took place. You see, the problem was their expectations didn't match. I mean, so that's one of the reasons, or unmet expectations, they cause conflict.
Yeah, I could, I could see a fry pan coming out of that.
Yeah, I could too. It get ugly real quick. It could get real quick. You know, some underlying issues too, like trust or recognition or power in a relationship, they can all trigger unmet expectations. And I don't know. Anyway, expectations, they build up over a lifetime. I mean, you learn your expectations from your parents, from your family of origin. Your parents had a certain way of doing things, and just you by observing it. I mean, you began to incorporate it into your life. And so you expect things from other people based on your family of origin. Or maybe even like previous relationships. You know, they can share expectations with you too, right? I mean, maybe somebody you dated, they didn't like to have the door open, you know, because, and so you learn not to open the door. But then somebody else you date, they want the door to be open for them. And so once again, it's just unmet expectations. And so also cultural influences. I mean, which is kind of interesting because you watch social media. I mean, on social media, people post their very best, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
And so people watch that. I mean, I'm guilty of this. I just saw somebody on vacation going, oh, I'd love to go there. But I mean, anyway, so you look at social media and you see people at their very best, and you want that. You want that. And when your expectations aren't met, once again, conflict and frustration just kind of begin to boil over.
You're talking about the post of the food I made last night that we're not having tonight.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Yeah, I'm having hamburgers tonight, but she's going to zest it up for us, right? She's going to zest it up.
The tomahawk steak was last night's post.
Yeah. I just saw, I was at Publix, and they had them on sale. Did you see that? I mean, they had these big, beautiful, I think they were like 3.5, 4 inches.
I think we should make that a video.
I think we should. That tomahawk steak, that looked delicious for us here. Now, this is smelling excellent.
It is.
Yeah, this is smelling excellent.
And it's all the same. I mean, think about it, Paul. It's the same, the same tomahawk steak without the bone. They ground up to make these burgers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just it's a little easier, a little faster. It won't be as good, but it's fun.
Yeah.
We're trying to make something with what we have on hand. I mean, I know a lot of us, didn't you find, like, this last spring, going to the grocery store, they were just like times where you go, okay, I gotta get really creative here.
Right.
And not bringing the family down, not be Debbie Downer, kind of come in and go, oh, guess what we're having tonight?
So, you know, what's funny is I came home from work early this afternoon, it's like I fried up hamburgers.
That's awesome.
But it was just your standard hamburger.
Well, I'm gonna
Swiss
leave
cheese on it.
this
So it's
for
like,
you.
and I really and truly was thinking, this is before I even knew what we were making. I mean, I really and truly was thinking, I'm so sick of just eating the same thing over and over again. Just like, So I wanted something different. So
Well, we're fixing it now.
Yeah.
So what happens, what do you do when your expectations aren't being met? What would you suggest? Like if I were having that situation, what would I do?
Ooh, actually, that's an extremely good question. No, powerful question. Thank goodness I have an idea what the answer is, right? Because when it comes to expectations, you can either have massive disappointment and frustration, or you can have a deeper connection with that person.
Right.
All right? And so, first and foremost, just simply be aware of your expectations. So, in all honesty, if you're experiencing disappointment, and you're experiencing anger and frustration with someone, I mean, that is the first sign that there are some unmet expectations. And so what I would do is ask yourself, when you find yourself getting frustrated, ask yourself, what did you expect? I mean, in that situation, at that moment, what did you expect? So I think, number one, you need to be aware of your expectations. And what's kind of interesting is I do have a worksheet that you go to oursaviorfl.org, and I will have a worksheet that's got like 30 different questions to help you identify expectations in your relationship. And all of the questions, they're open-ended, right? So there's no yes, no answer. And what I encourage people to do is you sit down some night when it's quiet,
right,
and you just work your way through like one or two of them, and you really talk it out with your loved one. Because it is a great way to clarify and to identify, to become more aware of what you expect. I actually sit back and I think, our relationship with our spouses,
right,
I mean, that should be the safe place, right?
Right.
I mean, everywhere else in our culture, everywhere else in our world, we put on these facades, we put on these masks. We're afraid to expose ourselves. We're afraid to let people know what our hopes and our dreams are,
right,
and what our fears are, because they'll be used against us. All right, so we build these walls, we put on these masks. Well, when you go home to your spouse, to your family, that's your safe place. That's the place where you should be able to open up and share your dreams and your fears. So And so one of the ways you do that, one of the ways you make it safe, is to be able to talk about what you expect. Okay, like, a relationship, a couple. How long is this relationship for? Is it till death do us part? I mean,
Right.
that's an expectation, right? I think we also need to be reasonable. Okay, so we're doing some stuff here. Why don't you go ahead and tell them what we're doing?
Well, I kind of messed it up because I told Suzanne I'm going to hand her the
you mess it
burgers. She's going to put the onions on it. Then normally I pop them under the broiler, like the
Okay.
French onion soup, how we broil the cheese.
Yeah.
But tonight, since we have our friends at home here, we're going to show you how, if you don't have a broiler, you can actually put them back into the fry pan where it's been cooking the onions.
Oh, okay.
We'll put the lid on it and we'll melt the Gruyere cheese. Gruyere is similar to Swiss in the way that it
Okay.
tastes. It has a little more of a nutty flavor to it. Obviously, Swiss works, provolone
Yeah.
works, mozzarella works. But
Your favorite cheese?
Lots of
when you go to your steakhouse, like Outback, so that's what we're gonna do next. She's gonna melt the cheese on there, and then we're gonna have you taste test for
All right,
everybody.
very good. So you're gonna put a piece of cheese and stick it back in there.
Yes.
Yeah. So another way that you can help identify or help meet unmet expectations would simply be reasonable. We can be reasonable with our expectations, don't we? I mean, because oftentimes, like if I expected or if my expectation was, she would always agree with every decision I ever made, or that we would never argue, or that, that's kind of unreasonable, isn't it?
Sure.
And so we need to, one, be aware of our expectations. Two,
Right.
we need to be reasonable
That's very
in
true.
what we expect. And I think lastly, we need to be clear about what we expect.
Right.
Okay, we need to simply clearly state and talk about what it is that what we expect. I saw a cartoon, it was really kind of I thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was funny, you probably don't. But it was a couple, and they were sitting on the couch. And the husband is sitting there, and in the bubble of his mind, he's thinking, oh, great. Another night, just the two of us relaxing on the couch and watching TV. In the bubble of the wife's mind was, oh, for crying out loud, another night just sitting on the TV.
Yeah.
It's crucial that you tell each other what it is that you expect, what it is that you want, what it is that you're dreaming of.
Right.
And so be aware, be reasonable, okay, and be clear about what you expect. And once again, I'm telling you, I've got a whole list of different questions that you guys can sit down and just talk it back and forth, and it is powerful in helping clarify expectations and what's reasonable. And another cool thing is, like, when you go through those questions, and I really encourage you to go onto the website, take a look at the questions, download them, print them off. You will not be disappointed. They will meet your expectations. But when you do it, it'd be kind of neat to jot down your answers and then go back and say, is my expectation reasonable? You can rank it on a scale of like 1 to 10, 1 being not reasonable, 10 being very reasonable, and you can actually rank them and say, okay, is it reasonable or not? Is it realistic or not? So anyway, very good here. So what do we got?
All right,
We've got our.
so I'm gonna get the broth.
Oh, okay.
Suzanne, yours looks perfect over there. I'm
I
gonna
hope
get
so.
out our French onion. What we love about French onion is how savory the stock is. And it comes from beef broth and usually like a sweet vermouth or a nice red wine. What we're gonna do is we're gonna hand thaw one of the burgers. We'll cut it for him so it's not such a hard thing for him to try. Ooh! Look at how it's got the cheese
This looks
melted.
beautiful.
And you can see how that would be really amazing if you popped it under the broiler or popped it even in the air fryer. Look at how stringy and beautiful that cheese is. Now again, this is just something that you would have in the house. We've taken something that would normally be ho-hum, and now with just a kind of like a little bit of spit shine and some lipstick, all of a sudden we have a fancy
Spit shine and lipstick. We have a
spit shine and some
fancy.
lipstick.
We have a fancy French onion burger here.
And you love French onion
I do. I
soup.
love French onion soup.
I
too.
think you're gonna like this.
Once again, excellent,
Isn't that good?
excellent, excellent. So we got a French onion burger.
French onion
Is what
burger.
this is, yep.
That's exactly it.
So I'm telling you, it's a hamburger, but it will more than exceed all of your expectations. So make sure you check out the recipe, give it a shot, and we want to thank you for joining us again today. You have a great night. God bless and live love. Bye-bye.